Welcome to your Breakthrough Podcast, where we're talking about stories that change your life and maybe can impact the lives of others. When I was young, my mom taught me a simple prayer that I didn't realize would shape the entirety of my life. It was to be placed in the path of those who needed help. For years, I thought that meant helping in small, everyday ways. But recently, I came to the deeper realization that lifelong prayer was the catalyst for every hardship I've ever faced. Each struggle, each loss was shaping me, preparing me to help others in a bigger way. It's been a journey of learning resilience, empathy, and strength, but now I'm here to share those stories to help others find hope in their darkest moments, and to show that even the hardest trials can lead us to our deeper purpose. I'm your host, Katelyn, and I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you are joining me for episode 3 of your Breakthrough Podcast. This episode's going to be a little bit different, a little less structured. I told the story of how I had a heart attack at 32 years old, and it went viral on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I've had multiple news outlets reach out to me. I was featured on Daily Mail, but what was most impactful is the stories that were told in the comments on Instagram and TikTok. I had no idea. It makes a lot of sense because heart disease is one of the leading killers of women worldwide. But I had no idea that there were so many people that had such similar stories to me and have either lost someone due to heart disease or heart attack or broken heart syndrome. I had no idea that there were so many people that dealt with anxiety and panic attacks, which can mimic the symptoms of heart attack. So I wanted to come back in and address some of those things as I've gained multiple thousand new followers who are interested in this story, and address some of the questions that were asked in the comment section. First and foremost, I want to address anyone who is dealing with thoughts, tendencies, thoughts of harming themselves, and really empathize with you because I was there. I was there for about 2 years after that first heart attack episode. And I really want to take a moment to lock in with you and tell you that you are loved and there are people here to support you and you're not alone. Second, I want to address the anxiety and panic attack disorder. Thankfully, that's something that I've never really dealt with to any degree that affected my life. So anyone also dealing with that, I want to tell you that you're loved and you're not alone. But I also want to clarify some of the symptoms for you so hearing this story doesn't trigger your anxiety further. I've done a lot of conversating with doctors and people who have had issues with anxiety and panic disorder since, because I wanted to be able to clarify for you and maybe help relieve your sense of anxiety surrounding your heart and telling you that this heart attack felt unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. It was the feeling of a knife between my shoulder blades. And I know this is kind of graphic, but it's the best way I can describe. It felt like someone was wearing barbed wire gloves, grabbing my heart out of my chest and wringing it out. So if you have panic or anxiety, I know that some of the symptoms can mimic it: numbness, tingling, racing heart. But if you understand that the pain of a heart attack is a lot more severe than the physical pain of an anxiety attack, that might relieve your concerns. So I want to go backwards a little bit and talk about where some of this might have began for me. I had my first daughter at 21, and that kind of destroyed my chest. I had a bad mastitis infection trying to nurse her, and after I was done nursing, I ended up healing from that, but it left me pretty lopsided. In fact, I tried to compensate for this lopsidedness by, I went to Walgreens and I bought a couple Dr. Scholl's inserts for shoes, and I stapled them together and I kind of carved out an implant for myself because I was a D on this side and I was an A on this side. So for a few years, I would use that insert as a way to make myself a little more even. And I took my daughter to the swimming pool, a public pool, when she was about 2 years old. And I was swimming, and unbeknownst to me, I had actually lost that insert in the pool. And I get out of the pool, and all of a sudden I see these kids throwing something around the pool. Ha ha ha, catch it, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I was like, that's my boob. Oh my gosh, we have to go right now. I was mortified. Like, that thing became my comfort blanket. That was my, oh my gosh, what is the word for prosthetic? That had become my prosthetic. And so I looked down, I'm like, oh my gosh, we gotta go. And there's no way I'm gonna be able to ask these kids for my stapled together Dr. Scholl's shoe insert that was my boob. So we left. I had a conversation with my ex-husband that night, and I'm like, I went through a lot with that, and I'm feeling like this could probably be helped. So I ended up talking to him. We decided that I was going to get a breast lift or reconstructive surgery to kind of even me out. I went to the doctor, went to many doctors actually, and finally found the doctor that I was going to go to. And he's like, we can do a lift, we can even you out. Perfect. So I decided I was going to do a small saline implant. So I get to the surgery center that day, very, very excited to even myself out. And he says, there was a client that was going to get implants but decided against it. So I know this is a much more expensive implant, but it's a textured silicone gummy bear implant. It's $1,000 more, but because that person canceled, we can give it to you. It'd be $200 more if you wanted to go from saline to silicone. And I kind of regret having that happen in the heat of surgery. Like, I'm already in a gown, I'm already ready to go, prepped for surgery, and I'm being asked if I want to switch the whole thing that I'm doing. So I said yes. I get a textured silicone implant, a gummy bear, and I woke up from surgery super dizzy but really excited. I actually healed pretty well from the surgery and was just happy that I was even again. And I went through a couple years before I started feeling really different. I used to do rock climbing. I used to be really active. I used to go to the gym. I danced like in high school, super active. A couple years in, I started feeling very, very, very low energy. I started getting super dramatic symptoms. I would get rashes head to toe. I had certain food allergies that came about. I had joint pain, knee pain, brain fog, migraines. There's just all kinds of symptoms that didn't make sense. And all of a sudden, I got pregnant with my second daughter, Quinn. And through that pregnancy, I had been pregnant with my daughter, Lily. I remember what that was like. Having this pregnancy hit me so much harder. You kind of chalk it up to age or whatnot. Like, oh, I'm just getting older. Oh, my joints hurt more because of this. It became increasingly evident that there might be something wrong. After I had Quinn, she was 3 months old. I had just had a conversation with my mom on the phone upstairs, and I was walking downstairs holding Quinn. And I don't remember anything until I was at the bottom of the stairs, upside down with Quinn on my chest. That was the moment I decided I really had to take control of my health. I had no idea what had been happening up until then. I had seen numerous doctors trying to figure out why my health was failing, why I was having so many allergies, food sensitivities, but no doctor mentioned anything about the fact that it might possibly be my implants. So that night, after waking up at the bottom of the stairs, having no idea how long I was unconscious, but with Quinn safely on my chest, feeling like angels maybe had carried us down the stairs, I decided I was not going to stop until I figured out what was wrong with me. Thankfully, by 3 a.m. that night, I had done enough internet research that I found a group on Facebook called Breast Implant Illness and Healing. Every single story that I read on that Facebook page resonated with me. Every single person talking about the effects that implants had had on their lives made a lot of sense to me. And then I started hearing stories of women having an explant surgery, where they're getting their implants removed, but not just taken out, removed in kind of a very intricate way where you take the entire capsule that the implant is in and removing it in its entirety, called a total capsulectomy. That is something that I had never heard. You know, you think if something's affecting you, you can just take it out. But apparently the scar or the encapsulation of that implant affects your body as well. So if you leave that in, that's going to affect you long term. So I started doing research. I didn't have the money. It was a $6,000 surgery to get them in. And looking stateside, it was a $9,000 surgery to get them out, and insurance is not going to cover that. I finally realized that, oh my gosh, it is the implants that's making me sick. So I started researching, I got involved with this group, and all of a sudden a name pops up that a doctor in Costa Rica is actually taking them out the right way, and women are actually recovering after they get them out. So I started saving and saving and saving because this is an expensive surgery. To be honest, I hadn't even paid off the credit card that the first surgery was put on a couple years later before I had to have the surgery to get them out. I had a 6-year-old daughter at the time and a now 6-month-old daughter when I finally left for Costa Rica to have the surgery to get them taken out. And the community in this page was overwhelmingly positive and nurturing and kind. There's women who had been dealing with implant illness for years, having no idea what was going on or why they were so sick. And to be honest, I had told my family members leading up to figuring out what was wrong with me that if someone had told me that I had cancer, I would have believed them. That's how sick I felt. Turns out I actually did. I went through my entire pregnancy with Quinn with breast implant-associated large cell anaplastic lymphoma. That is a lymphoma or cancer that is only created by breast implants. Very, very specific to breast implants. It's not breast cancer, but it's caused in the seroma fluid surrounding the implant. And that shook me. And I realized if I went through this, how many other women have went through this? So I began to engage a lot more on that Facebook page. I became very active there, learning that there was hundreds of women who had instances of lymphoma caused by breast implants. Now, this is my story. Not everyone is going to experience negative side effects from breast implants, but I can't help but wonder what putting a bag of silicone or saline wrapped in silicone over your vital organs can do to a woman and her health. So I have been an advocate since figuring this out for women's health and for just bringing to the table the idea that anything implanted in the body, especially something that maybe not super necessary, can affect your health. I had to leave Lily, my 6-year-old, and I had to leave Quinn, my 6-month-old daughter, behind with family. And in order to go to Costa Rica to find the doctor that was actually going to help me, I had to stay there for a few weeks. To have this kind of surgery, it's a big surgery. You can't just have the surgery and immediately come home. I was there for 27 days on my own. And it was one of the most transformative things that I've ever been through, to decide that vanity was less important than my health, because women identify so much with what we look like, how we're perceived. So to have this very big insecurity, from having kids throw around my Dr. Scholl's insert to feeling a lot better about the way I looked, and then having to come to grips with taking those out, it was almost a spiritual retreat for me, because I had those days all by myself in the jungles of Costa Rica to heal, realizing that you are so much more important than what you look like, that health is far more sexy than a breast implant. I healed myself in Costa Rica all by myself, even though I had had that removed from me, and now, whatever surgery looks like for one or the other is completely different. I'm grateful that I had a doctor that knew what he was doing. But the value of a woman has nothing to do with the shape of her. And I'd like to just speak to those who might be anticipating or thinking about or wishing that they might get implants someday. If that is your path, more power to you. But if you're on the fence about that topic, I would like to encourage you to be yourself, love your health, and understand that there are risks. There are very big risks, and I lived through them. So I can't say that what I went through had any impact on my heart health, but I can't say that it didn't. I was seemingly healthy leading up until getting breast implants. After getting them out, I felt immensely better. So many symptoms resolved. My food sensitivities resolved, the rashes resolved, the migraines resolved, the insane brain fog that tied me up and made me feel like I couldn't just live my life in a normal way cleared up. So many symptoms. I was sleeping through the night again. The insane body pain went away. Tying in what happened to me with breast implant illness and then leading to the heart attack that I experienced 3 years later, I don't know. It's kind of a mystery. Having doctor after doctor tell me that they're not sure why that heart attack happened. I didn't have any blockages, but I did have an ST elevation. I did have troponins in my blood, and I did have lasting heart damage that put me in stage 2 heart failure. Did the implants have an effect? I imagine that probably or possibly they did, but I want to address some of the questions that I saw on this post that I made. It was just a short clip of the podcast episode addressing the fact that I had had a heart attack at 32 years old, that they went in to put stents and there was no blockage. The anxiety posts, the depression posts, all of it. I wasn't depressed at the time, but I was going through a lot. Very, very high stress in the fact that I had moved from Surprise, Arizona, which is a little tiny town. There's a lot of farming there, over into Phoenix, middle of Phoenix. I moved so that I'd be able to have more microblading clients for my business, but it was super stressful at the time for me. I had a great pickup in my income right when I moved, but then it slowed way down. And as a single mom with 2 kids and a business on my own that was all of a sudden not making any income, it was incredibly stressful. And this was 2019, before, the pandemic and everything that was going to happen then. I was very, very stressed. I had just ended a relationship, and that kind of broke my heart a little, which is kind of funny. Broken heart syndrome kind of tied into that. But to help anyone with panic or anxiety disorders rest at ease, I feel like it was a very different situation. I felt like it came out of nowhere. I felt like I had been very, very stressed, definitely. I was really worried about finances, definitely. Feeling really bad about ending a relationship with a good person, definitely. Single mom, all of those things. But I didn't expect this, the heart attack that came out of nowhere. I can see now the warning signs leading up to it, now that I've experienced it not once or twice, but 4 times. I have had 4 diagnosed STEMIs, ST elevated myocardial infarctions, or a heart attack, better known as a heart attack. I can almost feel it coming on now, and so please be confident that if you're dealing with stress and anxiety, there are very big key factors that would make the difference. I had also gotten a lot of questions because in the end of a second clip that I posted, I talked about the unbelievable motivation that I had to take my life into my own hands. I had decided I needed to make an income that didn't stress me out, it didn't matter if I had to go to the hospital or had a hospital stay. I couldn't call into work on a 9 to 5, and I was worried about getting fired. So deciding to take my life into my own hands was a key factor about why I'm here now and you're listening to this podcast at all. I decided to work very hard to find a way to make an income online so that I could be at home and work on my own schedule. And I know that is a massive dream for so many people. You can use your story or past experiences that you've been through, things that you might not even realize could be the gateway to your success. I've spent the last 6 days since posting that episode working very hard with my team to develop a niche quiz and a guide to show you how you could possibly take your story and the things that you've been through and translate that into a product, affiliate marketing, or really anything that you could translate to a business online, to a side hustle online, to a side gig. The side gig community is booming right now. Statistics state that 50% of Americans have taken on a side hustle since 2023. And we all know why. It's getting harder to live. There's been a lot of inflation. So Americans deciding we need a side hustle, it's not new, but it is a lot more prevalent. And I know that it's very difficult to broach into that. It can be scary. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. There's so many things when you Google how to start. So I took the time over the last few days since these clips went viral to develop a niche quiz for you and starting steps. If you're on my Instagram or my TikTok or any of those things, there's a niche quiz that you can take to help you discover where your strengths are and how you can take your stories and translate that into an income that could possibly set you free. Sharing your stories can be the stepstones to your success and your financial freedom so you can actually live your life the way you want with a lot less stress. Because for me, I had no idea that stress could be such an integral part of health and wellness. I would love if you share your experiences and your stories surrounding any of these topics in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and it only helps spread awareness. Thank you for joining me on Your Breakthrough Podcast. Remember, your story has the power to change your life and inspire others. Don't settle for anything less than the good life that's meant for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a review so we can keep the momentum going. Keep at it until your journey is your biggest triumph. Until next time.